Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sheri.
And together we are
the Traveling Professors.
Sheri and I thought since we've ballooned over Chaumont, we probably should give you a walking tour of the chateau. So that is what we're going to do today. Take you on a nice walking tour of the Chateau de Chaumont. The Chateau de Chaumont gets its name from the past. It was originally called Chaumont, which meant bald hill. Later, it changed to Chaudmont, which means hot hill. The first castle was built by Odo, the Count of Blois, in the 10th century. It was made of wood, but later it was destroyed and then rebuilt before being destroyed again in 1465. It was destroyed in 1465 by Louis XI, who was punishing the owner at the time, Pierre d'Amboise, for siding against him by joining the League of the Common Weal. Pierre, however, later on rebuilt the castle in stone and Renaissance style, and the construction lasted 3 generations of his family, till finally being finished under his son Charles II, the Dukes of Amboise, not a king. Chaumont was the first chateau that Sheri and I went to see when we spent the week in the Loire Valley by staying at Onzine. We had just come in on the train. It just settled down into what you will see is what I call the Moat Hotel, and our hosts asked us if we wanted to do anything, and I said, well, could you take us to the Chateau de Chaumont so we could visit it? And they said, well, sure. So they drove us up and dropped us off. They said, call them when we're ready to come back. We walked back. But this is an aerial view of the entire site, and it is quite extensive. I don't think you could really see the whole thing in a day. Now, here is the entrance where you have the stable area, and then you see the chateau, and then you see the grounds, and then you see this garden section. And here is a aerial shot of it during their famous garden festival that they have every year. Actually, it was going on while we were there. So they have this whole section which you could wander through. And they also make up some of the rooms in the chateau itself. They chose this year the chapel. And Sheri and I weren't exactly wild about the chapel being decorated the way it was. But that's okay. At any rate, we decided that we weren't going to do the flower show part. So here we are entering into what is known as the barn area, where you have all of these barns for the horses and their equipment, and this is also where they have the visitor center, the restroom, and in the middle of it you see this water area, and this goes down gradually, levels out, comes up the other side, and this is where you can wash your horses. This is where you can wash the mud off the wheels of the carriages. So this was added by one of the people who owned it later on. Ultimately, after finishing that, it is time to walk towards the Chateau de Chaumont. As we get closer to the chateau, let's fill in the rest of the history. In the 1560s, after the death of King Henry II, his wife, Catherine de' Medici, bought the chateau. Ultimately, she forced Diana Poitiers, her husband's mistress, who controlled Chenonceau, to trade with her. Not that Diana Poitiers had much choice. It remained in Diane's family for a while, but ultimately, after many owners, Napoleon used it during the Napoleonic era to move Madame de Staël out of Paris, along with her friends who aggravated him. And then in the 1800s, the north wing was removed by the Broglio family, who were also the people who built the new stable complex. Ultimately, it was bought by the French government in 1938, restored, and refurnished. I love the entrances in the palaces, chateaus, and/or castles. And in this case, we have 2 working drawbridges. We have the main gate, which is perfectly fine, and then you'll see next to it side gate. So you can have the main gate closed and still be able to get in and out of this one little section. You'll notice that from behind it, when you draw up that bridge and put it in place, how that huge block, which is the counterweight, comes down and fills that spot directly behind a door, so you're not getting in. So then we walk on out into the main courtyard. This is a panoramic view of the courtyard from left to right. This section shows the building's chapel. This is where the chapel is located. It's the last place that we will be going. Then you see the entrance. You see the nice staircase. Then here's a central staircase, and this is where most of the fancy rooms are located. And then we move along, and then you will find some of the newer in the 1800s rooms will be located in here, and then we'll come back out. And then here's one of the wells on the site, and this is the reason why they knocked down the north section of the chateau, so you could take in the spectacular view of the Loire River. And you can see a little bit here, the little village of Chaumont, which is below the chateau. Moving inside, we head up the stairs, and here we find the room of Cosimo Ruggeri. Now, Cosimo Ruggeri was an astrologist, and he came with Catherine from Italy. Besides being an occultist, he was involved in a variety of plots and intrigues, which ultimately led to his being jailed while his accomplices were executed. Years later, when he was released, he went back into the same thing and was accused of trying to bewitch Henry IV and was re-imprisoned. So he has some pretty comfortable, shall we say, accommodations. He also had a laboratory and an astronomy position in the chateau. Now we come to the Queen's bedchamber, or Catherine de' Medici's bedchamber, which you can see is very nice. We have the beautiful tapestries. They have some magnificent tapestries in the chateau. It's a nice frontal view of her bed, and of course the wonderful tapestry on the wall. It was really nice. We did not have a lot of people in the chateau while we were there, so you have to wait too long. We got to wander around like both of us like to do and take pictures of what we wanted to. But nice room for the Queen. The next room is the council room, and here we have the gigantic fireplace with a picture of Diana Poitiers over the top of it. Obviously, she put it there after she took over. Probably Catherine de' Medici's picture was there prior to that. And then look at the view of the expanse of this room where the Queen could have her counselors. Again, tapestries on the wall, beautiful tapestries. Here we have the chairs in front of the windows, candles, the table, and look at the tiling on the floor. The tiling on the floor in here is just exquisite. Next, we come to the guard room. We see the nice suit of armor there and the interesting, shall we say, ornamentation over the fireplace. A little closer view of that, it appears to be Muslim armor, probably from one of the earlier crusades or something. Then we have, of course, the usual gigantic tapestry, but look what's in front of it. This is the strong box. This is what people would have held their jewelry in, their cash in, their gold, their silver plate, their gold plate. He would lock this up and then carry it with you from place to place. If you go to Italy, if you go to Venice and Florence, there are lots of these in the villas. Everybody had these, but obviously the higher ups had bigger ones. Then leaving the guard room, we come into what's known as the King's Chamber, and it's very small. Now, obviously, Catherine de' Medici was here after the death of her husband, but her sons became kings, and so they would visit here periodically, but not very often because there was a pretty quick switch. But they have a room anyway. It's basically a fireplace, a nice table, wonderful chandelier, and then it's time to go downstairs. Down the stairs we go. Notice in this set of stairs, looking back up, you can see that where the wear has been, where the people have walked up and down over the years. At the bottom, you reach the dining room. And look at this magnificent setting here. The dining room table set. Behind it, you have a nice little display of decanters and glasses. And then you come into the little sitting room where you have your fireplace and the magnificent ceiling up above the whole area. After leaving the dining room, you head into the library. In the library, there you have your books at one section and a lot of sitting tables and more tapestries and another nice little sitting room at the end. Then we get into the area where it's a little different time period. And this is known as Le Petit Salon, where we have the beautiful green furniture and the little sitting area with a small little fireplace. And then through the next door, it's the billiard room. Then we have, of course, the grand salon. Has more tapestries, but look at the amount of space they have. This is where you have your music. This is where you have all sorts of events that take place, where you bring everybody in after you've had the big dinner and sit around and listen to some music or just relax and carry on your conversation with the magnificent fireplace with the carved porcupine on the front of it. Now we come to the final room. We actually saw this at the very beginning from the second story, and it's the chapel. Now, it's a beautiful chapel, but Sheri and I did not like the flowers and the other things that they stuck into the chapel, but these first couple of pictures show it from the balcony up on the second floor. And it's beautiful. It's magnificent. You see the beautiful stained glass windows, and there's Sheri shooting away. And then we went downstairs and saw all the other rooms downstairs and then came back and shot those from the ground level. It's a little busy. It is a chapel that has been decommissioned. It's not an actual altar there where you would have the sacraments, but it's a little different. But my understanding is that this is the kind of decoration that they do whenever they have the festival. And then when the festival's gone, then this is removed. So we have finished walking through the wonderful Chateau de Chaumont, but there's more to see. Now we have to find our way back to our chateau. So we are exiting out of the Chateau at Chaumont the way we came in. It's a nice side view of it. You can see the moat area really isn't, doesn't have water. It's just a dry trench, and of course then drops off. And then we start heading down towards the town. Now we had come in at the very front by car. We decided not to bother our hosts, and we figured we could walk back. So we walked down the hill into the village. There's the beautiful little church in the little town of Chaumont, and then this is another parking area that you come to, and you can actually get your ticket here and go up the hill if that's what you want to do. We were, let's see, it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We were a little hungry, and we didn't eat up above at the little restaurant. We thought we'd find something to eat in the little village, but 3 in the afternoon, everything is closed. They'll be ready in the evening, but right now we've got to walk all the way back to our lodging, which is about 1.5 miles. So we walked through town, took some pictures on the bridge over the Loire at different camping sites. Here we are right kind of in the middle of the bridge. And then once we crossed, we get to the other side. They've got this little monument to the grape in the area. And this is a metal statue of Flora, the Roman goddess of wine and other fruits. And then we have all of these metal sculptures of people doing various things in the vineyard fields. Then we want to continue on our journey back to our bed and breakfast, or chateau and breakfast, if you will. And there it is. Can't see the moat that it's on from this angle, but you'll see it in some other shows. So we came back, rested up, and then went out to dinner that evening. So we had a wonderful time. So we hope you enjoyed our little tour of the Chateau of Chaumont. Sheri and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett on YouTube. It should be History According to Bob, but it comes up as Bob Packett. That's the easiest way to get to it. And please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, give a comment, and if you like history, please come by historyaccordingtobob.com website, where I do 6 podcasts a week on different topics in history, and there's all sorts of CDs and other things that you can see. So thank you very much.